to another edition of Warehouse 34. And as always, all of my guests have a very special connection to me. And this one in particular is Petey Cuomo, who has a love for music that is unparalleled on any level of any of the people that we are mutually friends with. You have a love of 45s in particular.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Petey.
First of all, thank you for having me, Diane.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate this so much.
I so respect you.
Thank
and
you.
You are one of the nicest guys. Although I have
Thank
to
you.
say, all of our mutual friends, our brothers from another mother,
Yes,
are all
they are.
sweethearts.
They are. They're great guys.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I got to meet them all and be in their company. So it's great.
Me too.
Love it. Yeah, love for the 45s. It started at an early age, Diane. 6, 7 years old. You know, my mom used to always play music in the house, and she gave me my first upbringing of music when it came to like all the classic lounge vocalists. You know, my cousins were introducing me to the 60s music. My aunts and uncles were into doo-wop. And at that time, when I was around that 6, 7 years old, my dad and my uncle had restaurant businesses, and they had jukeboxes in there that my dad's friend Willie was in the vendor business at the time, so he hooked them up with machines. And every 2 weeks or so, I would be getting like 15 to 20 45s that would come out of the machine. And these were records that either had to be replaced or records that just didn't play, but I got my hands on them. And my father's friend also hooked me up with other machines that he used to service also. So I was getting a nice amount of records every 2 weeks, which was great. And this would continue till I was around 17 years old.
Now, where was your father's place?
My father had a luncheonette in Harlem. We're going back well over 40 years ago. It was on 101st Street and 1st Avenue. My uncle had an Italian restaurant in Whitestone, Queens, which is where I grew up at the time.
Ah, so maybe this is the connection with some of my friends who asked me what your dad's nickname was.
Well, you're Sonny. I was actually Sonny's luncheonette at the time. And he was there for many years. And before that, it was his parents' place. They ran the luncheonette too. And they wound up selling it off to my dad. And he stayed there for about 30, 35 years before he got out.
That's wild.
Yeah, he wanted to go into a different direction of the job, and the neighborhood was changing a lot, so he wanted out. So,
listen, but the connections that were made up there are lifelong.
Oh,
because
yeah,
obviously
absolutely.
I had mentioned that you were coming on the show.
Yes.
So, two different friends, they were like, find out what his dad's nickname was.
Yes.
I'm like, what? And they're like, no, we're old timers. We're from up in the neighborhood.
Oh,
we're gonna know.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. They might know.
Yeah.
Might have known of my dad, because besides being a luncheonette, oh God, they used to sell stuff out of my father's store. He used to have like buying auctions. People bring stuff in. Hey, you want to buy this? You want to buy that? So it was a cool time period. My dad used to show me pictures. It was cool growing up, you know, and listening to his stories. So great stories back then.
So the type of records that you were able to, I mean, they let you keep these, the 45s?
Yeah, so what happened was...
Were they supposed to let you keep this? No.
I'm thinking that what happened was there's a place that used to be on Long Island, and it was called Don Records, and I would find out about this place many years later when I got a jukebox for myself. But really, the records, I guess, should have went back to the warehouse and put back into stock. But because my dad knew his friend Willie for many years from the neighborhood, he's like, just let your son have them. And I remember a lot of stuff I knew when I would listen to it, and a lot of stuff I didn't know, but I never threw nothing out. So it just accumulated over the years, so which was actually kind of cool. So
now the collection that you've amassed is quite large.
It's about 15, 16,000 45s, but I know one or two guys that have more than me. In fact, you had a gentleman on the show, Johnny D, who I'm friends with for like 32
He's
plus
so
years.
sweet. In fact, I wear Johnny D's T-shirt all the time, and people turn around and go, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Johnny D, I know him for 32 years, and his collection's ridiculous. But for what I have, it's decent, and it's funny, things changed recently because I've started doing more on the radio show thing now, and I have a certain type of
I didn't even get into your radio show where everybody can catch what you do and all the rest of that.
So there was a lot of music I wasn't playing anymore, so I said I gotta make room in the room because I have so much stuff in boxes. So I decided to auction off some of the 45s. And
that had to break your heart.
I got rid of about 4,000 of them on 2 auctions, but I made these people's days One guy bought a lot of my 50s and 60s. I wasn't playing it anymore. And the gentleman who bought it was an older gentleman from that time period of music. And he appreciated it because he was telling me a story that he lost everything in a flood in his basement about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
About 20,000 sold records. And I said, well, you're not getting 20,000 today. You're getting about 2,500. He was so appreciative. And the other gentleman bought a bunch of 70s and 80s for me. And he was giving it to his mom. His mom loves that genre of music. And the price I gave them, I'm like, they couldn't have been happier. So I kept about 10, 11,000 now.
Just a few.
Yeah, but
And you're married.
Yes.
And your wife allows all of this to
yes.
happen.
Well, my wife is like my strength. You know, she gets
I
me
met your
through my
wife.
day.
She's lovely.
Thank you.
You're both very lucky you have each other.
Thank
You're
you.
both wonderful people.
Thank you. And she puts up with my shenanigans and me doing my music stuff, but it's all good, you know. So.
But to have a collection like that in the house,
Yes.
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, I yell at my husband if there's like, you know, more than 100 cigars. I'm like, "Wah," like a lunatic screaming.
It's like in a little room in the side of that, you know, in the house, and I just call it's like the man cave. It's the music little man cave, you know. So it's like my getaway. If I need to get away, you know, after a week of work, it's, you know.
What's the 145 that if you got rid of absolutely everything you would not sell?
Now, oh God, I have.
There's just that one that you're not going to part with.
You know what? I got actually Planet Patrol. They do Played at Your Own Risk, which is a big classic, but it's an a cappella. And then on the flip side is I Didn't Know I Love You Till I Saw You Rock and Roll. The record's worth a lot of money on a promo, and Johnny knows about it. Johnny's like the encyclopedia on 45s, and he's got a couple of pieces I'm looking to get. We'll see what happens, but that one I probably wouldn't let go.
Do you guys trade back and forth through, like all of?
It's funny with Johnny. What happened was I would post the 45s on, you know, my Facebook page because with the radio shows, I'll kind of give an idea, let people know when I'm going to play. And he shot me a message. Goes, I don't have those two records. I go, how can you not have those two? Where your collection's like so far past what I have. So I had doubles, and I actually sent them to him as a surprise. And he goes, bro, I love you. I go, no problem, Johnny.
When he was on the show, he spoke about you.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
respectfully. I know
Yes.
that the two of you are very close.
Yes.
I have to have you actually both back on together.
That'd
I
be
think
awesome.
that would be an awful lot of fun.
That would be awesome. I met him like 32 years ago, and he's responsible for how I got to meet a lot of our mutual DJ friends. He's the reason.
It is a brotherhood. I mean, people always say, but Diane, you are a classic bartender. You know, I'm from the heavy-duty nightclub
Right.
era. That's how I'm really well known, and
Right.
everybody knows me from the mega institutions that I
Sure.
was attached to, and then the places that I'm not allowed to mention at
Right,
all.
right.
But no bartender could ever be successful without being paired up with a great DJ. Because I could, you know, have the personality and, you know, my thing is heavy volume. I'm not the pretty drink girl. Not that I can't do it. It's just not my forte.
Correct.
It's the heavy duty, you know, volume.
Right.
I'm going to pump them out or whatever. But I won't have a crowd to pump them out to
Correct.
if I didn't have a DJ playing the right music at
Right.
the right time and new things that were cutting edge that people would stop and go, what is that?
Right.
So it's synonymous. It's always been a you know, a hand in glove relationship.
absolutely.
That's why I have so many DJ friends.
Yeah.
You know, and very few of my contemporary peers are still in the industry, you know, the bartenders, because it's,
Right.
you kill every joint in your body.
Right,
I've already
yeah.
done a shoulder and a knee, you know.
No, there's a lot to it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. It takes a lot out of it. And that's when I was doing the mobile DJing. Before this internet radio was even a thought, then I got into the mobile DJing. I did that for like 32 years. When you know, you tell the story of like how it wears on you. And, you know, at the time, my girlfriend, now my wife, Susan, the last 10 years I had the most fun because I'm working with my friend Bobby, who I was with for the most. I was with him for 32 years. Then I started helping out my friend Frank, who actually has an instrument repair place. And he's like, listen, get your schedule from Bobby. Let me know when you're free. You're going to start doing weddings and parties with me. I go, I am? He goes, yeah. So then I started working with him, and then I was starting to help out my friend Louie, who was playing at a place in Queens. So I was basically doing like 4 gigs on a weekend, and the last 10 years I had the most fun with it, but I also felt myself burning out. And I actually hurt myself one night at a party bringing equipment down the stairs. I don't want to drop it, but we slipped on
People
some.
don't think
No, we slipped
when they
on.
see the lights, camera, action, and they walk in, they don't realize what goes on
No,
behind it. And
no,
not
they
every
don't.
club has the built-in. I mean, they have the space
Right.
designated,
Right.
but you have to bring your own stuff.
You
and
got-
the crates
yes.
from back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holy moly!
And they don't see what's behind the scenes. Like, oh yeah, go through the kitchen up the stairs. But meanwhile, you're going up through the kitchen. There's grease on the floor. There's grease
Yeah.
on the stairs. So I remember one time almost dropping something. I took the weight of it and I wound up tearing up my pectoral muscle. And my wife could tell you, I used to come home looking like I was in a fight with Mike Tyson. I would come home all like ached up. And I said,
Well, he was my customer at one point, so let me tell you, if you would have had a fight with him, he would have been really laid out. He was a tough boy.
my dad knew him through, after he left the luncheonette, he was a manager at a parking garage in the city. He knew him as one of his
He
customers.
was always such a gentleman, such a
my
lot
dad
of fun.
used to tell me stories about him.
So, in the DJing part of all of this, 45s are like so small.
Yes.
Tell me, how did you accomplish this task of DJing with 45s?
So what happened was, the whole story behind it, I'll give you a real quick story of it. So I was working at Sears, this was like 1985. A friend of mine was gonna
That
have...
was a great year, 1985, just saying.
Yeah, it
But
was
go
a
ahead.
great year for music, all around. And there was a gentleman I worked with by the name of Angelo, and he was looking to have a party on the weekend. And he goes, I want you to do the music. I'm like, but I don't DJ. He goes, no, but I want you to come, bring your stuff. You know, 'cause I've heard some of the cassette tapes you make. They play them in the store, you'll be fine. So I wound up doing the party with all 45s in a backyard, and I played for like 5 hours. Stopped just before midnight so we didn't have no cops, no problems with the sound. A lady I work with by the name of Vicky had a nephew that was getting into DJing. She goes, I got to hook you up with my nephew. You guys would be great together. You guys should have a love of the music. And it turned out to be Bobby, who I would be with for 32 years. When I met him, because he did my friend's sister's Sweet 16, about halfway through the party, he started showing me how to play on the 1200s with the 12-inch singles, which is what the DJs were using then. That was the norm. So the 45 stayed home with me, and I used to do my own little radio shows at home. I got myself a little microphone. I used to hang out in my room thinking I was a DJ on like WKRP in Cincinnati. So my parents used to laugh, but never used the 45s when we did the parties, only for like Happy Birthday or some DJ wedding essential songs. Everything was the 12-inch single though. It was all my friend Bobby's stuff though at the time. So I just worked off it all with his stuff, so.
So now you have a show,
Yes.
and what's the name of your show?
So now I do a radio show called Jukebox Journeys, and it's called the All 45 Record Radio Show, and it's Dance Floor Memories. I give a name to it because I try to bring back memories for people who want to tune in and listen to like of years back going to the clubs or the discos and saying to myself, wow, this song takes me back. So I make it about that now.
So where can people hear your show?
It's on Mixcloud, and all they got to do is punch in Flashback PD, all one word, and all the shows come up there. I usually try to update it like once a month.
For the people who don't know what Mixcloud is, explain.
It's an app that you could put onto your phone, but it's a platform where DJs go on that can go live. You could put pre-recorded stuff on there. There's a lot of DJs on there doing a lot of different things. A lot of guys go live. I choose not to. There's also pre-recorded that you can listen to. It's really a good format to check out. You know what I'm saying? Some people are leery about wanting to try something change because people used to like Facebook Live, but it has
But
its
they throw you off.
They throw you off.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then you get in
Mixcloud-
Facebook jail for playing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mixcloud will not do any of that to you, and it's a friendly format. You know, for people out there, they should try it.
I used to do the live feeds from Pastels on Saturday nights, and it was really for the people who always said they wanted to come, and for whatever reason
Right.
couldn't come, and the place is packed. And it was the memory and the spirit
Yes.
of what everybody experienced.
Yes.
And just for institutional history, I never worked at the original Pastels, but I spent a significant portion of my life there. I probably can say I grew up there, you know, learned a lot of good lessons there, and made a lot of dear friends with
Sure.
owners, staff, and customers.
Absolutely.
But the Pastels that's re-envisioned, you know, out here in the South Shore, is, you know, it's just something that like you just can't. People walk in with the biggest smile on their face, and it never leaves until they leave at the end of the night. So I was doing these live Facebook feeds from there, and it comes up on. It didn't get flagged originally, but now when it comes up on a memory, it's being flagged.
Yes.
So my memories of the last 5 years, because I think we're on our 6th year now of Pastels.
Yes.
5 years of memories keep getting flagged, and they're taking down all the videos because of the content that's being played.
Yes, yeah, exactly. They watch that very carefully on there for for the copyrights. Certain artists are tougher than others, but on Mixcloud you don't have the issue at all. So it's great.
I have the app because I always like to listen to New York City Live.
Yes.
Our brothers,
Yes.
Tito T and
Love those guys. Yes.
Vinny T
Yes.
and Rhett Jan and
Yes.
Benny D,
Of course.
MC Benny D.
Yeah.
So that show is one of my
Yeah, oh,
favorites. So I
absolutely.
have that, and I listen to Ralphie D.
Yes.
Who's like my brother.
Yes.
But so everybody can tune into Mixcloud, and you're going to be playing 45s, and you play 45s on that show?
Yes. So what happens? So what I do now is I've been playing for 3 different online stations, and what I'll do is some people don't like to come onto the station itself, whether it's they don't want to be in a chat or they just can't get the station app to work on their phone or their iPad, whatever it is. That's when I'll actually take the show and put it onto Mixcloud so everybody can try to make it easier for people.
Right.
And it's a pre-recorded show, all 45s, Diane. Yeah, it's I do a 3-hour show, and it's roughly about 55 songs. And some people say I'm out of my mind doing a 3-hour show, but you know what?
But you love it?
Yeah, I love doing it. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, watching the record level on each song, you know, calculating the beats per minute and making sure it goes through a nice flow. So programming for me is most important on the show because I don't want to play the same old. I want to play stuff people forgot about, so they want to come back and listen again. So.
And you post like some of the records that you're going to play.
Yes, I do.
So that you capture the engagement with the listeners.
Correct. Yes, I've done that. And actually, a few of our DJ friends out there, they're like, no, that's not on a 45. I go, give me 5 minutes and I'll take a shot of it and I'll send it to them. Because you'd be very surprised what was on 45s with freestyle, a lot of freestyle on 45s, and a lot of stuff from the 70s and 80s. You'd be very surprised. DJs weren't paying attention to the 45s then. We were all buying the 12-inch singles.
Right.
And they used to press the 45s as for the jukeboxes at the time or as a promotional item. So, you know, they're harder to come by, though.
When they used to peddle in the clubs, you know, they'd come in with the promotional records or whatever. To get to the DJ, you had to go through the bartender because the DJs were removed and, you know, up in the back. And, of course, you have to be nice to me, otherwise I'm not making that call. You know,
Right,
I'll
absolutely.
just take your things and say thank you and be like, whatever. But so for them to want to be nice, they would, you know, pawn me records. And then the DJ would come down, you know, grab his records or whatever, and I had my little stash that I started to accumulate. And one particular club, Razzles in Bay Ridge, Anthony Menino was the DJ,
yes,
Ralphie
I know
D.
Anthony. Yes.
They were both the DJs there. And I remember one night Anthony couldn't find a record. And he was like, I can't find this record. I wanted to play this record. I'm like, which record is it? Then I started going through my pile. I'm like, oh, I have a copy. He goes, how'd you get a copy? I said, because I was friendly and nice to the person who came to drop it off.
Right.
He's like, can I borrow it? I'm like, you could have it. I could care less. I just wanted the stack.
Right, yeah.
I just wanted to see the stack.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I didn't know what to do with this stuff. It's like me giving you a cocktail shaker. You would be like, what am I doing with this?
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, I totally get it. And it's funny you mentioning that because I've had a few old school DJs reach out to me and say to me, do you want my 45s? Petey, I don't want anything, you know, at all, because I'm not going to play them anymore, because everybody now is in the digital world where the guys are using a controller and a laptop now. Some guys keep their 12-inch singles, but the 45s, they have stuff that I like. They go, it's yours. We know if it's going to go to you, it's going to be appreciated. So I got stuff from about 3 or 4 guys recently, and they go, rather than throw in the garbage, give it to you. We
You're
know
like
you're
the
going to love it.
museum.
Yeah.
You're the museum
Yeah.
of 45s.
They
I mean,
know
that's,
I'm going to love them.
Yeah. I mean, what if, how do I phrase this? What would be the 45 that if your wife said, you have to give me one and you can never play it again, but it's going to go to somebody that you absolutely love, which 45 would it be? I ask crazy questions.
So what would I...
Because it might hurt you, because this is such a, you know, a passion for you. But remember, it's going to go to somebody you love. You'll see it, but you can never play it again.
I could see it, but I'm never going to play it again. Probably, it would probably be one of my all-time favorites of the 60s, probably Sugar Sugar, the Archies.
Oh, get out.
It's like my all-time favorite oldie of all time, and I actually have 7 copies of it. But I have a promotional copy of it, which is hard to come by, and probably if I had to give that to somebody and not play it again, I probably would bother me, because I tell you, I used to drive my mother crazy. I used to play that record probably 10 to 15 times a day as a kid, and my mother was like ready to take it and throw it against the wall. So, but yeah, that would probably be
Sugar Sugar, that was great.
Yeah, that was
absolutely
that's
great.
my all-time favorite of the oldies.
So, on your show, do you take requests?
No, so what
But
happens?
people won't like private message you and say, listen, next week, can you play this for me?
No, everything is pre-recorded. But see, so what I do is on the different stations I play on, it's a different audience that listens in. So some stations I can go on a deep end. Some stations I have to stay within the top 40, top 100 disco, let's say, type stuff with them. So I know, kind of gear it to what I know they're going to want to hear.
What's the #1 song that you know everybody wants to hear?
All the time. I have to put it on the show. Do I want to hear it? No, but it's probably Young Hearts Run Free, Candy Staten.
True.
It's like
When it comes on, it's an anthem.
Don't get me wrong. It's an anthem. Used to play it all the time, all the years of the mobile parties, and always a dance floor filler.
Right.
But I think I would react differently to it if I was not a DJ, as a person that would just listen. Because I've spoken to like some of our mutual friends, and it's like, God bless them, how on some songs it's like they just can't hear them anymore because it's so many years.
We have one very good mutual friend who I don't know why he was such a hater on Caribbean Queen, however you want to say it, and somebody just kept requesting it, and I kept calling the booth, like with that request, and it was somebody I couldn't say no to. It was they were not asking, they were telling, but extremely politely. And Ralphie just turned around at one point and he took the record. Oops, I said his name. Took the record and cracked it in half, and he go, can't play it anymore. I've played it 20 times already tonight, like not happening.
Yeah,
and you'll never play Caribbean Queen.
Of all the songs you would mention, I know another mutual friend, same deal. He was playing somewhere, and that was the owner's favorite song. And he had to hear it multiple times during the night. So one night, he decided to break it. He put it on the back wall. He goes, I'm sorry, it broke. I can't play it now. But meanwhile, he did have another copy, but it was just to avoid playing the record.
The guy looked at me. He was like, but my girl, the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Ralphie's like, I don't know. It must have slipped out of my hand. Meanwhile, I know he cracked it on his knee.
Great, don't get me wrong, great record, but some songs just got played.
Not after 15 times in one night.
Right, yeah. Some songs just got played to death, and it's like, oh, no more.
So, in all the years of like the clubs being the monster sound factories of our life, playing our anthems and stuff like that, what was your favorite club?
So I went to clubs when I was in the 1980s. Once I reached 18, I was going out to clubs. So some clubs I wanted to go to.
You waited to 18?
Yeah, I started at 18 going to clubs. This was 1983.
So what year are you born?
65.
Okay, I'm born in 63. And I'm born in December. I'm just about to turn 60. Shh, don't tell anybody. But if you were born at my time, drinking age was 18. If you were born a month after me, or you had to wait to 21. It got bumped up.
Yep.
But we were out at 14 in the clubs.
Yeah.
We did not wait to 18. I mean, I was a freshman in Adelphi Academy, and we were hitting the clubs hard and heavy. Wow. And it was just Penthouse before it was Pastels we used to go to.
Yes.
And Night Gallery, which we loved. It was called Shooting Gallery.
I've
2001 Odyssey.
I've heard the stories. My favorite back then, from my time when I went out, it was out in Long Island, was Uncle Sam's.
Loved Uncle Sam's.
Loved Uncle Sam's. I used to go to Speaks. And I think Anthony Barcia, a mutual friend of ours, I think he played at Speaks for a little while. And then I stayed locally in Queens. I used to go play some Bayside all the time. It was called Avanti's.
I remember Avanti's.
Yeah, it was a neighborhood place for like...
Brian Rosenberg did the promoting there.
Yes.
He was the promoter.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes.
And now he's huge.
Yes.
Does everything. Live Nation, huge events.
Avanti's, and I used to go to stores. I used to go to Silver Screens. Those were like my go-to places at the time. I wish I knew about Pastels in Brooklyn, because that's all I hear about when I talk to the guys. And I was like, that must have been the place to go to back in the, but
Who knew that this little place would become what it became?
right.
And I mean, of course, once it was written up in GQ, it blew up on a
Oh, yeah.
whole nother level.
Oh, no.
But prior to that, it was still tremendous. They had a solid line of people at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
wrapped all the way around. But that's a true testament to the owners, to the staff, to the
Absolutely.
management.
Absolutely.
There was not one part of Pastels that was not absolutely curated to perfection.
Right.
From the carpeting to the paint to the way the staff looked, to the way you spoke to people, you interacted with people. They made everyone feel special. Their bartenders were premium. Their DJs were premium. It was just an excellent experience.
And that's why it was as successful as it was, because
Yes.
of those reasons. So that's
So
fantastic.
you never went to Pastels?
The original, no. And I wish because I heard the stories later on from my Tito mutual friends and
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, to have gone there, yeah. So, but I used to hear that like with Studio 54. I never went, but
I was
wish
there at
I
14.
Did.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
There's that handful of places that I wish I could have experienced.
In the city, Studio was great, but I was very, very young at Studio. And I was kind of like overwhelmed with the fact that I was seeing Brooke Shields next to me. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
I thought that
that's
was like the coolest
that's-
thing.
that's cool.
But I really wasn't a drinker. And I remember asking someone for a cigarette because I thought it was cool, which, by the way, I've smoked almost my whole life because of that. And I didn't realize they used to twirl them, empty them, and stuff them with hash. So I took a cigarette and I thought my lungs had just like fallen out of my body at 14.
Wow.
But I was like, I'm coming back next week. I'm not smoking, but I'm coming back
Right.
next week. And it was an amazing experience, 54. But there was Bonds, there were Xenons.
Of course.
There were, I mean,
course.
there was just Magique, Visage.
Oh, yeah.
Just on and on and on.
The clubs were endless back then.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. We grew up in the best of times and
Yes.
the best of music, I feel. And, when I play some of these songs were played at specific clubs. So it's like if you went to the club, you're going to remember hearing this song. This song might not have played in any other club, but in that one particular club. But, Diane, I think we grew up in the best time period. Today, it's not the same, Diane. It's
please,
like,
no, not at all.
there's social media, the thing with the phone, it's taken away so much. Back then, you used to go to hear the music, you used to go there to meet people and talk with people.
Could you
It was
imagine
so different.
what our lives would be like if we had phones with cameras back then?
Oh, no.
I remember half the dumb things I did.
Oh, yeah, forget it.
And no, I mean, that would be
living
forever
Yeah,
on social
absolutely.
media. No.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
glad I was able to escape that whole,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I think I love my phone. I love my social media and stuff like that. But the fact that the younger generation doesn't really go out and experience what we've experienced.
No.
I used to walk. I grew up in Bay Ridge. So I grew up on 79th between 3rd and 4th. And I used to walk to 2001 Odyssey.
Wow.
Walk.
Wow.
62nd Street.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't let my kid cross the street. And,
Right, exactly. Exactly,
what was
Diane.
I doing at 14 years old, walking, past Gazebo, past the Crazy Country Club, past Lemore's or
Right.
Fantasy Island,
Yeah.
just to get to 2001 to go see Ralphie D.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember Lemore's.
Yeah, and then walking back at 3 o'clock in the morning, 14 years old. We would never do that now.
No.
And the world is not safe anymore to do
No,
that.
it's a different world now.
But
It's
I mean,
different times.
we never had a problem. We walked in
No.
groups. We laughed all the way there,
Yeah.
laughed all the way back.
Yeah,
These kids
absolutely.
have no idea. And I never thought I'd be that old person saying, "These young kids," but now I am.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Back then, we had it was different times, a different world, and you could hang out till 4 or 5 in the morning, and you still felt safe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sitting on the stoop.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, Queens is like Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Stoops were
Of course.
integral part of our life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But also, you being into music and being in Queens, you kind of had the best of all the worlds. You had access to Long Island, really.
Yes.
Like a hair,
Oh, yeah,
a hair away,
absolutely.
eyelash away. Brooklyn,
Right.
Manhattan. The only thing you didn't really have was Staten Island or New
Right,
Jersey.
right.
But growing up in Brooklyn, I never came to Staten Island.
No.
I mean, I have this conversation with friends of mine that are, like decades old. and we would talk, and they're from, certain areas, and I'm like, I'm from Bay Ridge. So this one particular friend is from Canarsie, and this one friend is like, you don't know anybody from Canarsie. I'm like, what do you think? We just wanted to stay and look at the boys from our neighborhood? That's why we cruised the L.
Right.
You didn't do anything with them.
No.
But you just looked at them because
Right.
for some reason we thought boys were different looking in different areas.
Right. Right.
Like, gotta go. Gotta go. We gotta,
yeah.
I hear this particular neighborhood has cute boys. My girlfriends and I would all pile in the car, and it would be $25 in gas in my
Right.
Lincoln just to go drive by and look at a boy. And you felt like it was amazing. Then you
Yeah,
stopped at White
absolutely.
Castle's on your way home or
Right.
the Tiffany Diner, and it was all good.
Yeah,
But you had all of those options.
Yeah, I did, but I kind of stayed to like the same 4 or 5 places that I just enjoyed. I got to meet the DJs at, so I had my fun. I had fun. I never played in the clubs. I was never a club DJ. I didn't want to be involved with that. I just always enjoyed doing the private stuff. So it was less headaches. It was less headaches.
When you enter the club world, the demands are very different. The hours are very different.
Yeah.
And sometimes the party didn't want to end.
Right.
And so when you had responsibilities and you needed to be up,
Yep.
and it's like, no, keep playing for another hour, keep serving for another hour, keep pouring for another hour.
Yeah.
Or 2,
Yeah,
or
no,
3.
yeah.
And it just never ends
Yeah,
sometimes.
absolutely, Diane. And it's like, I hate to say it, but back then, when you played in the clubs back then, everybody had their residency in the club, and it's like, you can't touch that place, don't touch that place. And then you hear guys backstabbing each other, and there's a lot of drama
very
that goes with it.
territorial.
And when I did with the private parties, you had none of that. It was like, it was a lot calmer waters, and that was fine with me.
That's why I'm kind of, amazed with the group of our mutual friends, because they all are, have a solid background behind them.
Yes, they do.
But yet their egos are on the side, and they're able to all come together and enjoy
Yes.
just the love of the music.
Correct. Yeah, totally agree there.
I mean, when you get like big icons, you get Danny Pooch, come on, Pucciarelli, it was just like, forget it,
I'm going to tell you a quick story with Dan Pooch. So,
Listen, I love Danny Pooch. I love Tommy Musto. I love Ralphie D. I love Tito T. I love Eddie D. I don't know what the D is with the names. I'm sorry, I can't even explain it, but all the D's with the.
I love all those guys,
Yeah.
but I have to say, when it comes to Danny Pooch,
I was
going.
else. Shh, don't put me in.
I got a few things. So with Danny Pooch, my girlfriend at the time was Susan. Now it's my wife Susan. We were going out to a disco party. It was going to be out in Long Island at a Hilton Hotel. We were going there to show support for another friend of mine that was playing there that night. And I had no idea who Danny Pooch was, but all I know was what attracted me to him was he was playing vinyl, while these other guys were with the laptop and the computer. So I said to my wife, I'm listening to him for about 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, this guy's the bomb. He's great.
Yeah.
I had no idea about his past history, his accomplishments, nothing. So I needed to use the restroom. So you had to go downstairs. I went to use the restroom. So as I'm coming back up, he's coming down. I said, not for nothing. I said, you're the man. He goes, well, thank you. And I go, who are you? I go, my name is Petey. He goes, hey, I'm Dan. Nice to meet you. So now, Eddie D, and there's Paul Ponzone.
Yeah. Oh, he's so sweet, Paul.
I got to say thank you to the both of them, because here's where it all comes together, and what you were just saying, the DJ dinners.
Yeah.
I got to thank Johnny D, because Johnny D is the one that got me introduced to the DJ dinners, because we tried to get together, Johnny and I, hundreds of times, but we can never do it. He's like, just come to a DJ dinner, we'll catch up there. And that's how I got to meet all these guys, and they're very humble.
He's
They're
one of my new idols, too. I
humble,
love him.
So humble to each other. And
Yeah.
thank you,
And
Eddie D. And
Al, too.
Al, I got to go to Al's house a few months back, and he was showing me his studio, and he showed me his memorabilia on the wall, because he does a lot of these shows where he's the MC at.
Right.
And he goes, here, take these with you. I go, what's this? He gave me like a milk crate of 45s. He goes, you're going to appreciate these. He goes, I really don't play them that much anymore. And I'm looking at the stuff he's getting. I go, Al, you sure? He goes, it's rather than throw them in the garbage or give them to somebody, I'm giving them to somebody who appreciates them.
Al is very involved with Legends of Vinyl.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes. And
So he
great guy.
keeps it alive with that. And
Yes.
he's a great, besides DJ, MC, everything else, he's
Very good
what
person.
a sweetheart. Yeah.
Sweetheart. Sweet of a guy.
But all of the DJs, back in the day, Danny Pooch was God. Tommy Musto was God. They all had their
Yeah.
you know, their platforms,
Yep.
and you could walk into a place and be like, I'm friends with,
Yeah.
you know, I met them all through Ralphie D, by the way.
Right.
You know, and because I met them through Ralphie, and I didn't meet them as a customer or an employee working or whatever, they all treated me, because I'm so much, I met Ralphie when I was 12 at 2001 Odyssey, which is a story I can't say. But Ralphie treated me like a little sister. So all of the other DJs, you know,
Right.
the age difference was vast back then. Now that we're older, it's not a
Right.
big deal.
Right.
But when you're 12 and you're talking to an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
very different. So they treated me so respectfully, kind, and nice. And they would curse, but they would limit their cursing. They
Right.
would limit their smoking, limit
Right.
their drinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think if I would have met any of them in any other way would I have that kind of relationship.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned Tommy Musto, and I saw him recently in a DJ dinner, and I went up to him and said, thank you for producing two of my favorite freestyle tracks back at the time. And recently I got my hands on a promotional copy of one of the ones he produced, and I put it on the Facebook page, and he's like, nice. But I said thank you to him. He's so humble of a guy to talk to.
He is. Oh my God,
Yeah.
Tommy is so humble.
Yeah.
I had him on the show, and it's like I didn't want to blow him up and make him feel uncomfortable,
No,
but
he's a
there was
good
just
guy.
so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And he was just like, as if it was like, you know, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's like Bones and Musto, come on now. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
anybody
yeah.
who's watching the show who is of our generation is going to go, what?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was. They all are. Well, I
They
remember
are, all of them.
All
Each-
of them.
all of
Even
them.
when I met Tito, and you know, I went to the DJ dinners, and Tito wasn't at a few of the ones that I went to. I said, but I got to meet this guy Tito. I always watch his show, and I got to go meet him. So they used to do the shows down by Roller Jam. So I decided to go down on a Tuesday.
Oh, with DJ Anonymous.
Yeah, so I get down there early. I'm in the car, and I get out of the car, and this guy's getting out of the car. And I go, that's Tito. And I go, hey, Tito. He goes, yeah. I go, it's Petey Cuomo. He's like, oh, my God. We went inside, and we started talking for about a good 40 minutes before he was going to do his thing that night. Fantastic guy.
So Tito was one of the resident DJs
Yes.
at Pastels.
Yes.
And although I know Tito, I mean, like, I love him like a brother,
Yeah.
you know, now. But I would stare at him in the booth. And he's, you know, each one of them have their idiosyncrasies, you know. And he'd be like,
Yes.
going.
Yes.
But he didn't socialize with any of us. He was, you know, so removed, put up in the, you know, on the pedestal of the booth in
Right.
there. You know, he'd look down and he would see the crowd.
Right.
We all felt like Tito was our brother or our cousin or our best
Right.
friend. He didn't have a clue of, you know, any of us.
Right.
And then when he would finally come out, you know, and come down and like say hello to some of the people and, you know, the staff or whatever, that's how I met Tito. We didn't become, you know, close friends all of these years up until like the last 10 years. And I just look at him funny though, because I'm like, Tito, you're like my brother.
Right.
But I feel like I know you 40 years because
Right.
I've been staring at you for 40 years. You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I know them. I know all these guys now going to maybe 5 to 6 years. But Tito's a big reason how I met people because of his shows. And the other gentleman was Sal Curto.
Oh, such a great guy.
So-
Joe Pizzina, who
Yes.
is here, is very close with Sal.
And between that and the Sunday Source. So between
Yeah.
those two shows, that's how I got to meet a lot of the people that I met. And then I started getting to meet the DJs. So it all ties in.
They're all great. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I'm forgetting people's names as we're talking. And
Of
someone's,
course.
Ross the Boss. I mean,
I
come
know
on.
Ross. Ross is good people.
Oh my gosh. And Ross's son, the underboss.
The under-
Stop.
Very, very good. Very, very talented. In fact, you mentioned Ross. Ross likes, he's another one. He's like, listen, I got a box from here to here of all 45. They're yours. The next time we get together, I got to remind him. So I'm like, thanks, Ross. You know, so.
The last DJ dinner, I don't know. No, it wasn't this year. It was last year. I had said my bucket list. I have a few things on my bucket list, and one is to go to another rave, which is not called a rave anymore. You know, but when like Lenny Fontana does them in Ibiza and you know Tenafly and all those places, I'm like, we gotta go.
Another
We
great
gotta go
guy.
do this. I want to do this. And the other one is I think I should know how to basically spin. And so Ross turns around to me and goes, I'll teach you. I was like, what? And he goes, I'll teach you. I'm like, you're going to teach me how to DJ? Not that I could ever be good
Right.
or anything like them, but I just want to understand it.
Yes.
I want to be able to say, I know how to do this.
Right.
Because every DJ I know knows how to come behind the bar, at least make the basic drink.
Right.
I want to know how to play the basic song.
Right.
Some-
That's cool.
yes.
It's fun to learn. It's
Yeah,
fun
I want to
learn.
do this.
Yeah,
This is on my bucket list.
It's a lot. It's fun. It's fun. I remember when I learned how to play on the laptop with the controller. My friend Louis at the time, he was playing in Queens, and they were just introducing this whole Serato program because we were still doing CDs at parties.
Right.
He goes, "Come on, I'm going to show you use the Serato and learn how to play it," and it was fascinating, and I enjoyed it. You know, I got hooked. Then we just went right to the laptop. You know, for the remaining years of playing, doing parties. Convenience, Diane, because you could have over 100,000 songs in a hard drive. You know what I'm
I know.
saying? And I carry crates and CDs and yeah.
But it's got to be pretty easy on your shoulder now, too, though,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you're not,
Right.
you know. But do you miss that part of?
I don't miss it, Diane. You know what it is? I just don't miss the late nights of the parties. I don't miss the lugging of equipment because my body never felt so good as it does now because I'm not lifting for the last, I stopped 4 years ago. And I just got tired of hearing the same old songs. But now it's just, no, now I just enjoy just playing the vinyl.
Do you have your first mixer? Every DJ I ask that, they, for some reason, either saved it or after it became something that they wanted, they went out and bought another one that, and recreated
My
the...
first mixer, my dad brought me home. And remember, I was doing these little radio shows, and the kid in my room was from Radio Shack. Radio Shack used to make a mixer. Now, I don't have it, but what I did get my hands on recently is I have a Clubman 1 and a Clubman 2, which is like a mixer that was used in the early 70s, through the 70s, a lot of like Anthony Barcia, Joe DeMonte, all these, Ralphie, of course, all these guys probably started on these when they played in the club. So it's a sought-after mixer to collectors.
Tony B's got it.
So,
he
I got
must
two
have
of
an
them.
awesome collection.
Yes, that's the encyclopedia of
Yes,
music right
yeah.
there.
When you look at the comments for the New York City Live or Nothing But the Tea when it runs on
Yes.
Facebook, and if you guys are ever on Facebook, check out Nothing But the Tea Live and New York City Live also on Mixcloud. But Tony B is the one who can answer all the questions in the
Ridiculous.
comment section on Facebook when somebody throws out a question.
He's ridiculous.
He's like, oh, I know that date, that year, that club, that DJ, that everything,
he's
that song.
He's ridiculous. In fact, I said to him, because he loves his oldies, so I said to him, my favorite oldie of all time is Please Say You Want Me by the Schoolboys, 1956. He goes, 1957. I'm like, all right. But he corrected me, but it's like, it's amazing what he knows.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. But we used to go back and forth, him and I. He goes, you're pretty good for your age and what you know, Pete. I said, that's my aunts and uncles. But I try to stomp him.
You can't stop. No,
You're
no.
not stomping Barcia.
No. Tony B, Anthony
Love him to
Brascia
pieces.
and Tony B are the same person. I
Love him to
just,
pieces.
yeah, love him to pieces. But no, he is hands down the encyclopedia of all of this.
And he never stopped. He never had a point in DJing all these years where he stopped for 6 months, a year. He's been continuous. So,
Yeah.
so God bless him all these years and playing.
It's, some of us have had the, I don't know, the luxury, the absolute pleasure of, staying in the industry for so long.
Right.
I'm 45 years in the nightclub industry. I can't even imagine saying that because honestly, on Saturday nights, I'm 25. I'm Peter Pan. I have Peter Pan
Right.
syndrome. On Sundays, I'm 125.
Yes.
But to say 45 years, I'm 15. Before I turned 16, I learned how to bartend right before my 16th birthday. How the hell did that happen?
No,
but Tony B has got, he's got me beat, hands down.
It's ridiculous how many years he's been playing. But, I give all these guys a lot of credit that are still going out there, our mutual friends and guys, other guys I know that they're still going out. It's more of a restaurant thing now where the restaurants have
because, it's also the age group that they're
Yes.
going after. So remember, all the big nightclubs in the city got shut down basically with Giuliani and everything
of
became
course, of
Disneyfied in
course.
the city. So if you wanted to still hear music, and no, you no longer needed a cabaret license.
No.
Where people, if they God forbid tap their foot, you used to get a ticket back in the day. But now you can
Yes.
merge the two.
Oh, absolutely.
And it makes sense to mix the alcohol and food now at this point.
It's a good winning combination,
Yes,
Diane.
yeah.
It works because my wife's sister, my sister-in-law, she was a manager of a restaurant in Queens, and they wanted to start the DJ nights. And I started doing it with Bobby. Then I did it with Frank, and no cabaret license. But it was a winning combination of people who could go have dinner,
Yeah.
and then at a certain time just move the tables, and then it turns out to a night of just dancing. So it's a no-lose situation, but I give my guys, friends out there, a lot of props right now for them to still do it after all these years.
Oh, yeah.
And to deal with, playing the same songs and dealing with the element, and there's a lot going on with it, Diane.
Each one turns around and throws like curveballs.
Yes.
And that's what kind of makes it. I know that when any of them get up there in the booth, they'll play a song and I'm like, my head will spin like The Exorcist. I'm like, I love that song.
Yeah.
I remember that
Yeah.
song. I remember,
Oh, absolutely.
whatever, I remember what car I had. I remember what shirt was my favorite shirt. I remember what color I used to airbrush my beeper at Caesar's Bay Bazaar. Yeah.
It's music takes you back, Diane, no matter what the song. It's like if you play a song, it's like it could take you back to that year.
Yeah.
It could take you back to who you were with, the group of friends you were with, the club you were at. Music is great. It's like the OJs always say, music is the healing force of the world. It just,
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I enjoyed watching the growth of the artists also. When they originally would peddle the music, a lot of times they came in with their own stuff.
Right.
Like, could you play this? Could you get the DJ to play this?
Right.
It was like, and to watch them grow and explode and become what they became,
Of course.
And there were certain artists that, hands down, I don't really. Back in the day, I used to be on the bar all the time. It was just my shtick, my thing. But if I get up on the bar and dance for an artist when they're in the club, it's truly out of respect because, quite frankly, I could not have had that beautiful life and lived the way I lived if they didn't have that music and create that music for me to have someone play it, for me to have the crowd in there.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Judy Torres, I'll always be on the bar for her. Lime, always be on the bar for her.
Yeah.
Suave, forget it.
Oh, Suave.
Yeah,
of course,
TKA.
Of course, TKA. Of
Oh,
course,
my God.
the whole time period. Of course,
Yeah.
and these artists, they busted their butt starting out and getting that record to get played and promoting themselves. And it takes a lot of work. There's a lot, when I talk to Johnny and what he's done with producing and remixing, it takes a lot to get that record to hit the radio and become a hit.
Yeah.
So when they do make it, God bless them and shout it out for them.
And as the music changed, I always held on to the love of what I had from the previous. So Gatien, when I worked at the Limelight, he owned
Limelight,
everything
yes.
in Manhattan, basically.
Limelight.
And I wanted so much to be at the Tunnel for like one night a week. And it was like, no, because your crowd is the Limelight crowd, and this is what you're known for, and this is where you work, and blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to go to the Tunnel because Funk Master Flex was there, and it was the Flex crew. And I used to beg, borrow, steal. I whined, everything. I was like, please let me go to the Tunnel. I just wanted to be there because the music was exploding in another direction. Throwing a curveball, I'm like, what is this?
Right.
What are these guys playing?
Right.
Frankie Cutlass,
Frankie, yes.
I was like, what are these guys playing?
Yeah.
And I remember going one night, and the Limelight was never dead. I could never use the excuse, slow night, gotta leave. It was never,
No.
And I worked the pit. I also worked the VIP, and I worked the sacristy later on in the years. But that was only one night a week in there. But in the pit, there's 3,000, 4,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
I can't go anywhere.
I went once or
but
twice
I remember
there.
pretending to be sick.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so sick. I gotta go.
Yeah.
And, Barry, who I worked for, was just like, really?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna throw up. I'm so sick. I have the chills. I must have the flu. I left. I went over to the Tunnel, and I just jumped up on the speaker and threw myself in the crowd. And I'm, flipping,
Of
and they're
course.
tossing, and they're throwing
Yeah,
me. And I'm a size 0 at that point, and they're flipping me like a seal, like a shark hitting a seal.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Security sees me, and they call the Limelight, and they're like, Diana's here at the Tunnel.
Yeah.
Like, you guys ratted me out. I
Yeah.
got in so much trouble.
No,
They were
no,
like,
absolutely.
you got sick? to go to the tunnel? Is that where you went? Was that like the doctor's office?
Yeah, no,
I'm like,
no,
I
no.
just wanted to hear Funkmaster
The
Flex.
Flex.
I wanted to
Of
see it.
course. Well,
I
yeah.
just wanted to not just hear it. I wanted to see the explosion of what they did, because it was like a show, an amazing experience.
Yeah, that was like me with Little Louis Vega. Well,
Oh, crazy!
That's my.
Oh my God,
I love
Louis.
Little Louis Vega, and I got a chance to meet him. But I remember going on there was a cruise line that went around Manhattan.
Yeah.
And he was doing it. So I remember I backed out of doing a party just to go on this to hear him, and it was intense with
Jelly
him.
Bean does them too.
Yes, yes.
And I love him too. I mean, I approached him on the Upper West Side. He was playing for something, and he was so gracious. He, you know, I truly, in my heart, don't think he actually remembered, you know, that we
Right.
worked in the same club together, but he pretended he did. Whatever. At the end of my experience of talking to him, he made me feel like I was the most special person on the face of the earth. But he was such a great DJ.
Yeah.
I mean, and he still is.
Yes.
You can't listen to Jelly Bean and not go, holy shit.
Yeah.
John is amazing.
Yeah, yes. And I did it for Little Louis Vega for me, for the top
Yeah.
guys, it was him. And when I met him, he's so humble, because you figure a guy like him is not going to be humble. I remember meeting him, and I said, you don't mind if I just want to say hello and thank you for everything you've done. I heard you play. He goes, well, thank you. You know, he was being honored at an event. So humble. And I was like, I made my night.
You know, I truly don't like to fangirl over anybody, but sometimes I do when it comes to this, you know, arena, where I'm like, oh my God, look at that.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It was best of times, Diane. You know.
It really was. If you could pick out your favorite memory from back in the day, what would it be?
My God. Actually, you know what? Well, I got to see some performers play that just before they exploded. Like I remember seeing Madonna at Uncle Sam's.
Yeah.
And before she exploded on the scene. And
I remember her in Hell's Kitchen. Yeah.
But my favorite part, memories for me would have to actually probably be at Speaks.
Yeah?
Speaks, because of the performers they had there and the DJ they had there I was friends with at the time, and it's just a whole element of Speaks for me.
Sometimes
special
a
moments
place
there.
may not be that roaring, you know, warehouse nightclub or whatever, but it's like lightning in a bottle.
Yep.
And you will make lasting, lifelong relationships in it and create the best memories.
Oh, absolutely.
And have the best time, and you're 2 blocks from your house.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think Christopher's was like that too. Christopher's was another, like, oh my God, you leave Christopher's and I just had as much fun as if I was, you know.
Avanti's was that way in Bayside. I mean, for a local place, just for like the local people to go to, the line would be wrapped around the block to get in. But for such a small place, it created everlasting memories because everybody knew everybody. So it actually was better than going there sometimes in some of the bigger clubs. But you know,
Did you ever hit other places like Promotions?
I used to go to Lemore's East. I used to go to Phase 2, then became Palace, Limelight. Lemon Tree, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, back in the days, yeah. There was Sprats on the Water.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
And the furthest I ever ventured, I went to New Jersey. It was a club I used to go to called Dancing. It was in New Jersey, and with a bunch of friends. But
I never did the Jersey scene.
yeah, I went to this one place, and that was it. But
I don't know.
But I had fun. I had fun at the clubs I went to. So I always wanted to hang out by the DJ, though. You always find me with a drink next to the DJ, just watching and listening to what he was playing. So.
But that's where all the action is. It's
Yeah,
either
that's where I
right
was.
next to the bar, you know, at the opening, where you see the staff come in and out,
Right.
or by the DJ,
Yeah,
you know, by the DJ booth,
Had a great
because they're
time.
making magic,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you know, and you can hear the excitement, the frustration.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You know, they're like, oh my God, you know.
Yep.
And you could watch them look at the crowd and get pumped.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
That's, to me, when I watch the DJs watch the crowd, which I don't always have the opportunity to do, but I try to like catch a little bit of it, and they're just, you know, it's bringing them to a different high in this world.
You drop that one song, you're going to hear the cheer from the crowd, like, oh, you know, they get,
Yeah.
It just comes out of nowhere. And that happens to Sue and I when we went to Pastels a couple of times, and they dropped that one record at that right time. It's like, oh, yes, that's it.
I love the fact that we have some great young DJs too that are keeping our music and our anthems
Absolutely.
alive. You've got Siamo.
Yes.
That kid is holy
And he's
smokes.
off the hook. I heard him. Yeah.
Off the hook. I
Yeah.
mean, the first night I met him, I'm like, I was taking pictures of him and stuff like that up for social media for a show. And I said, I'm your new aunt. Because
Yeah.
when you hit it, I'm on your guest list.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he was
he's-
cracking up.
yeah.
And every time he sees me, he was obviously raised,
Oh, yeah.
the right way.
Yes,
He
yes.
sees me, he's polite. How are you? He's respectful. Hi, aunt. The
Yeah.
whole night, aunt. I'm not his aunt,
Yeah,
but he's
no.
just such a lovely kid. But when that kid gets on the boards,
Oh,
holy smokes.
Next level.
Next
with him.
level.
And Andrew, too,
Yeah,
Ross's son.
yes.
Very respectful.
Yes.
I've talked to him a couple of times, and I've heard him play. Upcoming, he's
You know what? The underboss did, Andrew. One of the DJ dinners. Every time I got up to, I don't know, go say hello to somebody. Every time I stood up, the kid stood up. I looked at Ross. I said, "Your son, I love him." And he goes, "Of course." And he goes, "That's my son."
he is respectful.
But old school manners. When the
Very.
woman, I was the only girl at the table.
Very.
So when I got up, and this young,
Yeah.
beautiful, handsome young man,
Oh, yeah.
crazy ass talented, getting up and being, he's just such a polite kid.
Very, very.
But he's another one. When he hits
Yep.
the boards, he's setting those things on
Oh, yeah,
fire.
absolutely. It's the
know.
next generation coming up, Diane. It's, like guys we know of, we're still doing it, but we've had our time. And now this is the next generation. And they're growing up and learning the music from no better than their own fathers who were fantastic at what they did and still do. So
Yeah.
it's a good role model for them. So they just got to stay humble. They were very humble.
You know
So-
what, though? I think both Andrew, the underboss, and Siamo, I don't think their heads are ever going to blow up
No.
because they have very grounded families.
Yes. That's what it is.
Ross and Siamo's dad are just very,
Yeah, I agree.
those kids were raised to, you be respectful, you are responsible for that last name, when you leave
You
this
can
house,
see
you
it
represent
with them.
me, and you will be a productive member of, of the community. They are wonderful kids.
And they'll always be accepted to be around the older guys who've been playing because they know they see the respect and
Yeah.
they admire that respect. So
And they earned it.
Yeah, and
they earned it. They earned their
Absolutely.
place at the table now because they play on a level that seasoned professionals play at.
absolutely,
It's like,
Absolutely.
how did this happen? That
Yeah.
at such a young age.
yeah, absolutely.
These kids can turn around and rival.
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I don't want to say their parents, but
no.
But hey,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
just it's crazy. They are amazing young kids.
Yes.
So we're going to end the show soon.
Yes.
But I have an idea.
Yes.
I would love to have you and Johnny come on. I think that would be great. But I
That'd be
also
fun.
think I would like to have all the DJs come here and just do an open forum of all of the music and all of the clubs and
That'd be
all of the fun and
fantastic.
all of the memories.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
I think that would be
A lot of laughs there.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of laughs.
yeah,
there.
it's
It'll be a
almost
lot
like the
of fun.
DJ dinner
Yeah,
only
right.
with a camera.
Absolutely.
No dinner,
No.
no alcohol,
No.
but just a lot of laughs.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
Would you come back?
Of course, for them, yeah. And Johnny, yeah, of course.
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember the last time I saw Johnny. We got to get together, him and I. It's long
His
history.
T-shirt. He gave me the Henry Street Records
Yes.
one and then the Johnny D Experience one, and both T-shirts. When I wear it, people, their heads spin and they go, "Huh." I was downtown Brooklyn with one of his T-shirts on the other day, and people looked at me like, "You're in the
Oh,
know,
of
you know
course.
this," and I was wearing the T-shirt. I'm like,
You read
Yeah, I'm cool
about
like
him.
that.
You read about him. You'd be amazed. What
I know.
He's done. It's
I know
ridiculous.
he's so talented.
Yes.
Petey, I don't know where the hour went.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, listen.
Thank you.
You're an amazing friend, and
Appreciate
you're
it.
so
Thank you.
humble.
Thank you.
And you are the museum of 45. So before we get off, where can they find your show, Mixcloud?
Mixcloud, just punch in Flashback PD, all one word, and the volumes come up right there. And I usually update it once every month, every other month.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you
me
for
on
having
Warehouse
me on here.
34. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.